guys, good morning. Oh my gosh, did you love that devotional with Cindy? She is so good at that, and I'm so glad that's how we got to start our day. I'm having fun. I don't know about you. Obviously, I wish we could be together, but I love that we have found ways through modern technology to still be together. And today I'm excited because we're gonna get to do an activity. And I realize some of you are in a room with a small group of people, or maybe a large group of people, and some of you are in a room on your own. Guess what? This is gonna work for every single one of us because we've got an activity for you today to really put into practice what we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about the power of your words. Now, many of you may or may not know this about me, but when I was 16 years old, I was in a car accident. And when, after the car accident, they said I was paralyzed on my left side. They said I was, lots of short-term memory loss. Doctors, therapists said over and over, more times than I can remember, but still to this day, and I'm over 40 now, I remember the things that they said to me. They said things like, learning will never be as easy. I'm always gonna have to try harder. I'll probably forget things and just not remember things well. And so they were trying to teach me all these tools, if you will, to help me remember better and to get things done and to be more efficient. And what's interesting is, they didn't even think I'd be able to play basketball after my accident. And so when I got back to school, they had hired a new coach, and even that coach would say things to me like, I feel like you're not trying hard. And he probably had seen some game tapes and wondered what on earth had happened to me. But for us, the miracle was the fact that I got to play basketball again. Now, why do I tell you all this? Chances are you haven't had a brain injury like me, but I'm sure you have a memory of somebody saying something negative to you that just carried weight, and you don't want to remember those things, right? And I actually have looked at some studies on marriages, studies in the workplace, and it literally takes 5 positive experiences to counteract a negative experience or negative comments. 5-to-1 ratio. I need to say that again. It takes 5 positive interactions to erase a negative interaction. That's a lot. And so it really shows us the power of our words. Now, what does that have to do with what we're doing here today? Well, this was something that I recognized early on as a teacher. It's something that I would, implement with my students in my classroom. And, I would have students that in other people's classrooms were quite problem children, I guess you would say. They're in the principal's office all the time. And yet, when they're in my classroom, that wasn't the case. It was because the minute they walked through that door, I would start telling them who I saw them to be, what I believe they could accomplish. You're going to be such an active participant in class today. I'm so excited to hear what you learned on your lesson. And I did not have problems with those students. Same went when I was coaching, Not everybody has the skills of a point guard. Not everybody is great at rebounding, but the ones that were, I would call that out. And you know what? They just continued to thrive in that role I needed them to thrive in. So this isn't just something I did in teaching in my professional life. It's obviously something that I've implemented at home. And we have this tradition in our family, actually. And birthdays are everything to us. And every year, whenever it's our birthday, we get around the dinner table and we go around and we each say something nice about the person who's celebrating their birthday. And I'll never forget when my middle child, Colton, he had to be 5, maybe 6 years old. He was quite young. We're at a restaurant. We're going around the table. And I mean, this is one of those birthdays that all of us were there. My parents were there. Kyler was there. I think Kinsey was there. Landon and Skylar were there. So were my grandparents. And we had all gone around the table to tell Colton something we loved about him, a characteristic about him that makes him special. And I bet you can only imagine this sweet little boy, after we had all finished our turn, he was like, let's do it again. Let's go around again. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, if this kid isn't words of affirmation. But you know what else it showed me? It reminded me of that truth that there are power in our words. Yes, his love language is words of affirmation. And for those of us that is something that means more to us, that is a very important thing that we need to feel loved and to feel good. But I promise you, every single one of us, no matter what our love languages are, no matter what our gifts are, we need that positivity. We need that belief spoken into us and over us in order to help us raise our confidence and really do things well, whatever it is that we're trying. So let's move this into the business world, shall we? Because this is going to be a tool that you can use in every single one of your relationships, but it's also going to be something that obviously really blesses your business. And, I know I say all the time, when you know better, you do better. And now that you know better, you can do better. And some of you might say, well, I already knew this. Well, I'm curious. Well, how are you applying it? And for those of you that are like, no, this is actually a new concept, the same question goes to you. Well, how are you applying it? And so we're going to do that today. And, one of the ways that I did this in business, and I have such good memories of doing this, not only the times that it was done for me, but the times I was able to do it for the others that I was with. And it's something that I've continued to do even now in the role I'm in this corporate role that I have now. So give you a couple examples, and then we're going to actually do this today right where you are. In the living room you're sitting in with the people that are in that room with you. If you are online watching through a watch party, or you're, watching through a Zoom with some of your team, or you've got a big group of people, you could break up into smaller groups and do this. We're going to do some of this using our words to really bless others. And while I've read studies, and, I really believe even more than anything what the Bible says, and the Bible says there's life and death in the power of the tongue. And so we know that if we're speaking positive, that's life. If we're speaking negative, that's death. It also says in Corinthians, it says that if we sow sparingly, we reap sparingly. And if we sow generously, we're going to reap generously. And so today we're going to sow generously. And I realize some of you might not all be on the same team. It might be sidelines. That's all right. We call this reverse gossip at It Works. This is something that won't only just raise the confidence in your team and their belief level. It's actually something that will make the culture within your organization that much stronger. And so reverse gossip is one of those things. Instead of gossiping about each other and talking negatively about each other, we're going to talk positively about each other and to each other. And so I remember taking my team out for dinner, and there were times where they all were new to each other. So instead of having them all do this to each other, I would do it. I would stand up, and in a way of introducing them all together, I would also speak life. I would say, this is Debbie. Oh my gosh, Debbie has the biggest heart. She cares so much for people, and she's a very hard worker. I'd say, this is Denise. Oh my gosh, Denise is so hungry, and she's such a good friend. And I think the way she's been good at this business is she just is like a best friend to everybody who joins her team, and they're having so much fun. Eventually they start having success. And then I had Carla, who was just so wise about health products, and she just had such a nurturing personality. Her team was confident with her wisdom, and they felt completely loved and accepted. Do you see how I'm doing that? I'm going around and I'm introducing each person. So if you're in a room right now with a group of people that they don't all know each other, maybe the host or hosts could take this as an opportunity to kind of introduce everybody to each other by just speaking that life into the various people in your room. Maybe y'all do know each other. So then we can have some fun with some group. You might want to call it a roast with positive words instead of negative words, right? And so maybe you put somebody up on a chair and you set the timer for 30, 40 seconds, depending how many people, and just everybody in that room starts sharing things that they appreciate, admire, why they like that person. And the best part of this is it's not fake, it's genuine. It comes from a real place of what inspires you about them. What do you see in them as a talent that will serve them well in this business? I think that's why so many of us love the color personality so much, and some of those other personality tests like Enneagram, because it really helps us hone in on what makes that person special, because we know the various talents that we each bring to the table will make us successful. We know belief is such a big part of whether we're going to do well or not. And every single one of us can have success in this business as long as that we believe that we can. And the more we do things like this, the more our confidence is going to grow and the more belief we're going to have. And belief is transferable. I love that. Okay, I have a quote. We're going to complement each other. We're going to magnify our strengths, and we're going to focus a whole lot less on our weaknesses. Joyce Myers says that, and I couldn't agree more. So we're going to take some time right now. We're going to break before our next main stage session, and we're going to do this. We're going to do this with each other. Again, whether you're online, whether you're in a small group or a big group and you want to break into smaller groups, let's take some time right now to start doing this. Remember, knowledge is not power. It's applied knowledge that's power. And so we're going to start applying it right now. And then I want to encourage you to utilize this lesson, something that you do on a regular basis. And I don't care if it's the same people that were together this week as last week and you do it again. The repetition, that's when all of a sudden you're going to outpower those, you're gonna overpower those negative words that have been spoken with the positive words. We can do it over ourselves and we can do it over others. So let's go ahead and get started. Take some time right now and have fun.